No. No. Is it full screen? No, it was Windows PC game, even though I explicitly have it as full screen. Because I'm nothing if not consistent. So it is very hot in my room. I need to have the door closed, but I do have my fan on. Okay. Excellent work, Ryo. Fuck me. Ryunosuke. That was superb. Ugh. My heart was in my mouth the entire time.
You all make me proud.
Violet Melodious Phantasm just resubscribed for 37 months. 37 months of cows rolling in now to free you from this unjust accusation.
Damn, if I can't do it, 37 cows can. Thank you for the sub V. You were drenched in sweat, your eyes popping, your knees knocking, and you were grinding your teeth. It was a grim sight, but before I knew it, I started finding inconsistencies in the testimonies. I think you might have a natural talent for being a lawyer. Forget it. It's terrifying. Ryunosuke. Okay. Anyway, it looks like we've exposed your phantom lady at last. Miss Giselle Brett, a student from Great Britain, is she? That's what I was trying to tell everyone from the start. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone. There was a young woman with him, like I've been saying all along. Yes, you have, haven't you? I might not be overly confident in the courtroom, but my powers of observation are one thing I'm sure of. Yes, I can see that. So, about this young gentlewoman. Thanks to our detective friend, she was hastily escorted away from the scene, it seems. Did you see what happened with that? No, I didn't see any of it. I was on my way out of the restaurant myself, and on the floor next to Dr. Wilson's table, I noticed there's a gun lying on the floor. Just after I bent down to pick it up, I didn't have time to think about where the sound of the gunshot had come from. The waiter ran over to me, looking as white as a sheet, and he bundled me into some sort of small pantry next to the kitchen. Fast thinking by the detective, he apprehended his suspect without a moment's delay. Yes, and because I was shut in the pantry, I have no idea what happened outside in the dining area. Ah, there you are. Well done, both of you. Professor Mikotoba. Well, it seems I was right. The pair of you make an outstanding team. You've exceeded my expectations, I have to say. Yes, it seems you planned this from the start. You arranged things so I wouldn't be able to act as a lawyer in this trial. Our modern country is still in its infancy, our justice system even more so. Which is why I firmly believe that we need to send our brightest young stars overseas to learn all they can. I wanted to avoid a situation that may have resulted in your study tour to Great Britain being cancelled. Well, it makes no difference, lawyer or otherwise, if I'm the kind of man who can't help his best friend avert the worst crisis of his life. I shouldn't waste everyone's time by going to study overseas anyway. What? What are you saying? So that's your stance. I was afraid you'd feel that way. Kazuma. Well then, looks like it all comes down to you, young man. Don't look at me like that. You need to prove your innocence and uncover what really took place in that restaurant. I must say, I very much want to know the truth. After all, personal connection to this case. Come to think of it, he said the same thing earlier this morning, didn't he? If you don't mind me asking, did you know the victim? Yes, I did. As you're probably aware, Dr. John H. Wilson was a visiting professor at UMA, and it was I who invited him. Oh, I see. I didn't know that before. Anyway, you're about to go into battle. The victim was a university professor from Great Britain, and a well-known one at that. Naturally, our government is looking to identify and punish the culprit as quickly as possible. But let's not forget who we're going up against. The gentlewoman whose involvement in our police bureau went... Hold on. Our gentlewoman whose involvement our police bureau went to extraordinary lengths to hide. Yes, and I'm sure the prosecution will be using every tool at their disposal to squash your case. But I've no doubt you pair will put up a good fight, right to the last. Best of luck. Thank you. Now then. I need you to run an errand at the university at once. There's something I think we may need. Of course. Good luck, Kazuma-sama. Defendant Naruhodo. Court recess is over. Please wait back inside. It's time. Let's get back to it, partner. Let's go in there and deal a decisive blow before those old fossils know what hit them. Kazuma. What? Thank you. Really. What for? Well, if you hadn't said you believed me, then I'm fairly sure I'd already have been found guilty by now. Look, I have faith in you. As a lawyer and as a friend. And from you, that means a lot. If I'm found guilty in this trial, he's really going to give up on his dream of studying abroad. It's the kind of true friend he is. So it isn't just my battle anymore. Whoever we're up against, we absolutely cannot afford to lose. Alright, I'll save the thank yous for after the trial. Treat me to one of those sukiyaki meals I like from Yume Cafeteria on University Street. With an extra large portion, of course. God, Ryunosuke looks like his fucking back is gonna break. Professor Ouchi, have you managed to subpoena the witness? Yes, Your Excellency, against all odds. And thanks to a certain young stripling, the prosecution is now under the rather painful scrutiny from the government. Ugh, sorry. Let the government scrutinize. That's their job. It's nothing to worry about. It's highly unlikely that the good relations we've forged with Great Britain will emerge from this trial unscathed. Will you still think it's nothing to worry about when the new treaty breaks down and our nation founders? Again, terribly sorry. If the friendship between our nations is really so fragile, then the treaty isn't worth the paper it's written on. You really have nothing to worry about, Ryunosuke. What do you mean? A secret trial, anxiety over some foreign government's opinions, a bungled investigation, missing witnesses? Is this what our nation's justice system is? Is this the Supreme Court of Japan or of England? Shut up. Shut up, you jumped-up rookie boy. You and your friend know nothing of the situation our nation finds itself in. By aligning ourselves with this great world power, we'll become strong. Diplomacy has never been more critical. Steady political maneuvering is what will secure our futures. I won't deny I'm no expert. I'm just a student, one who could arguably study harder, too. But standing here now in our Supreme Court, there's one thing I feel very strongly. A country that fails to uphold the truth in its justice system is a country with no future at all. Well said, Ryunosuke. Despite the wide-eyed look of terror. You little brats! Thank you, Counsel. The court is the pinnacle of our nation's justice system and exists solely for the pursuance of the truth. With that in mind, this trial will now resume with the next witness taking the stand. The visiting student from Great Britain, Miss Giselle Brett. Yes, Your Excellency. She killed Swan. Well, what a delight it is to welcome such a fine gentlewoman to Japan, and from a distant land. No, I didn't see her name, or the joke. Tea. Someone bring English tea. In England, no discussions take place without tea. Is that true? No idea. So, could we possibly trouble you to state your name and occupation for the court? Of course. My name is Satoru Hosonaga. I have been working undercover as the head waiter at La Carnival, but my true— Yes, we know all about you already. It's always ladies first in England. Is that true? No idea. I do enjoy the rising tone of it. More importantly, a little earlier you said something to me. You said that your powers of observation are the one thing you're sure of. Oh yes, I think I did, didn't I? Your description for this amazing sight was simply a woman. Sorry, Ryunosuke, but powers of observation aside, your powers of description are sorely lacking. Okay. Guilty. So, dear lady, once again, if we may trouble you for your name and occupation, please. I'm terribly sorry, dear lady, but what? The lady says her name is Giselle Brett. Brett? She comes from London, England. She's a visiting research student, currently enrolled in Yume University's medical faculty. Oh my, what a rare treat to hear the dulcet tones of a delightful language of the British people. I'm afraid I don't understand a word you said, but it was as beautiful as a hummingbird's song. As far as I can tell. The detective is translating her words faithfully enough. Hi, Tucker. Yes, I agree. You'll obviously do fine in England, Cosmo. Her English doesn't rattle you at all, does it? Nor you. Clearly been paying attention in your English classes. Court thanks the beautiful lady for taking the stand. Now, if we may trouble you to confirm something, Miss Brett. 3 days ago, at a restaurant called La Carnival, a grim murder took place. The court has been led to believe you were in the you were dining there with the victim, Dr. Wilson, at the time. Is that correct? She says, yes. This could take some time. So even though she's studying here in Japan, she can't speak any Japanese? English, snooty. That was French. My apologies. She'd like to apologize for disappearing from the scene. She says that she was due to make a presentation at the university, so she had to leave immediately. Interesting. And you're the one who engineered her escape. I was just following special orders from the Bureau. Well now, dear lady, would you be so kind as to cast your eyes over to this photographic print? Seeing as you were so unfortunately present at the scene of the crime, could it be that your resplendent eyes caught sight of the wicked perpetrator, perhaps? Apparently, it was a very frightening and sorrowful sight. Do you mean to say... Yes, it would appear the lady did witness the crime. The very moment when the accused, standing right there in this courtroom, shot the victim in cold blood. Order in the court. Did you hear all that, Your Excellency? Here we have an absolutely conclusive witness statement. Well, it looks like it's clear now. Clear who our real enemy is. Unfortunately, I'll have to ask you to formally testify, if you please. Kindly tell the court the exact nature of this frightening and sorrowful sight you witnessed. Look at this graph. I had arranged to meet for a slightly late luncheon with Dr. Wilson that day. The professor was unable to eat, so I ordered for myself only, a beef steak. After a while, the accused came over to greet the professor, and they got into a fierce argument. Then, not long afterwards, the accused took the professor's gun and shot him right before my eyes. I don't carry a gun myself, so obviously I couldn't have been the culprit. This is a condemning testimony indeed. No, I didn't have any kind of argument with the professor at all. Quiet, you filthy wretch. Look at you, you black-hearted blackguard. And look at this snow-white angel. I'm sure even a dark-minded scoundrel like you can imagine whose words the court is going to believe. Still making the same mistakes. You mustn't blurt out when you're goaded like that. That's a lesson you need to learn. But he's so annoying. Of course, I was at the scene as well. I took statements from this lady and the two witnesses who testified before, and reported back to the Bureau. It was decided that Miss Brett was not involved, so I let her go. Testimonies of the last two witnesses were completely worthless, however. Well, even so, on the day in question, the lady was wearing the same outfit as she is today. As you can see, there's nowhere about her person that she could conceal a firearm. I can think of like 3 places. Unless and until the precise location where the witness is said to have hidden a weapon can be shown, this is moot. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. Those are the witness's own words on the matter. It's ridiculous. If only I was allowed to lift her dress, like... Ryunosuke. Thank God that's an inside statement. Don't think about doing anything rash. I didn't fire the gun he picked up! There must have been another gun there that day. You're right about that, which means this lady was hiding a gun somewhere. Yes, that's what we have to prove now. To do so, we will need to pull her testimony apart. Defense may now cross-examine the witness. Oh, yes, Your Excellency. Is it gonna do her French? No, not French.
Yes!
After 2 p.m., in fact. That's really quite a late lunch, isn't it?
Objection!
You don't keep up with the latest fashions from Britain, do you? Late luncheons are en vogue, isn't that right? No. So... Where is it?
No!
Decisive English no has quite a sting to it. The gentlewoman is currently working in the victim's research laboratory, it seems. So it was apparently a daily occurrence that they would lunch together. But on the day in question, the victim had another appointment at the clinic first. Yes, which we can prove from the medical report card that was submitted as evidence earlier. That's right. Miss Brett and the victim went to lunch following the victim's treatment, which is why I was so late. Both arrived at the restaurant. What happened next? Ouchie, I think your nose is a little too clean there. There should be a bit more brown on it. Professor was unable to eat, so I ordered for myself only a beef steak.
Yes!
Not much to really press here, but was unable to eat, you say. And that was because he just had a tooth removed at the Hada clinic, correct? That's right. Supposed to actually check with the witness before answering. Was Miss Brett aware of that fact? It seems so, yes. She'd heard the professor was to have some dental treatment. So that would mean that it was you who ate the steak picture, dear. Isn't that right, Miss Brett? That's right, yes. The print you have there shows the table exactly as it was, left after these horrifying events. What's striking me weird right... I have no fear, my dear Leos. I'm gonna beat you with your own glasses. Other than some carbonated water. Just water? Yes. The professor was unable to eat, but he had been given permission to drink water. So it appears the diners toasted their lunch with a glass of water each. They each raised a glass of carbonated water. What do you think about the witness's last statement? It's very meaningful. Last statement, Miss Brett. It has a profound bearing on this case. Well, well, how fascinating. Do tell us, what is this profound bearing, Come on. The significance of the statement will become apparent when the time is right. The defense calls for the witness's last statement to be formally added to the testimony. Well, sidestepped, counsel. Very well, Miss Brett. Kindly repeat what you just said to be added to your official testimony. Gladly, she said. That was brilliant. I'm gonna remember that one. Which one? Significance will become apparent when the time is right. I could really use that phrase. I'd hope there are some more useful tips you're picking up from this experience than that. Nope.
Yes!
So both of you and the professor drank this carbonated water, did you? Yes. Being the waiter, I poured the 2 glasses myself. I clearly remember doing so. Except you're actually a detective. And the beef steak, that was for you, Miss Brett? The lady says that she'd heard it was not customary to eat beef here until Japan opened its doors to the world. Yes, that's true. What a frightful place, is the lady's opinion. And I've heard it's not customary to eat sashimi in Great Britain. Now that's frightful. Every country has its own cuisine. As long as the people have food to eat, what doesn't matter what it is? True. Come to think of it, first time I tried carbonated water, it was much more of a shock than the first time I tried beef. But anyway, back to this witness's statement. His face! Yep. I know what's the contradiction here. We need to pounce on even the slightest thing now, because you never know what might lead to our goal. Understood.
Yes!
That's it! Let me just confirm something, please. It's to do with this photographic print. Just a short while ago, you spoke of this print showing the victim's table at the crime scene, that it was exactly as it was left. That is correct, the lady says. Well, that is, it's odd. Very odd. Dear me, what's odd is the defense's inability to express itself. Ionosuke, what is it about the print that looks odd to you? Well, obviously, it's the cheers. The cheers? Miss Brett just told us that she and the professor said cheers over a glass of water. But if that's true, there should be 2 glasses on the table, not 1. You're quite right, Counsel. There's only 1 glass pictured here. Are we supposed to be impressed by this nitpicking over the minutiae? What possible difference does the presence or absence of a glass make on the case? Minutiae, you say? Could it be that the detective here removed a glass from the table to conceal the lady's presence? Of course not. I would never do something so reckless. But there should have been 2 glasses on the table. Are you going to try and tell me that you can drink with only 1? You're quite right. I certainly took 2 glasses to the table. Inspector, what did the lady say? It would seem that it was Miss Brett who took the glass from the table. What? It was all so terrifying, everything that happened. I panicked and thought I should try to hide the fact I had been there at all, she's saying. Good gracious. Sorry. There, as I assured the court before, this is of no consequence at all. Oh, please. We must remember that the student had just murdered this lady's luncheon companion before her very eyes. Who could blame her for concealing a glass or 2 in her state of disarray? That's absurd! Oh, really? So do we take it that you're going to accuse this vulnerable, young, and beautiful woman of mischief? What? No. This can't be put down to mischief. I'd like to know exactly how the lady took the glass from the scene, because she couldn't hide it anywhere, according to her. It would seem that she slipped it into a small handbag she was carrying. And what could fit in a handbag? Yes, Your Excellency, a small handheld pouch commonly carried by well-to-do women in England. So the beautiful lady has very graciously explained how and why she removed the glass from the scene now. However, the fact remains that this glass has absolutely no bearing on the case. The student has been trying to confuse the court with logical reasoning, but in the end, it comes to nothing. No more pretentious accusations. You've wasted enough time already. Indeed, the lady has offered a satisfactory explanation as to why she removed the glass. But, did you... Why... We can consider this matter to have no bearing on the case. Counsel for defense, are you in agreement? No. If you want to pursue this matter further, you're going to need to show that it has some deeper significance. Yes, you're right. So she took the glass. She had a handbag. It's the handbag. Wait, the lady put the glass in her handbag, you say? Yes, do try to keep up. It's already been explained to the court that all English gentlewomen carry handbags for small items. Let me see. A little while ago, Miss Brett stated the following. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. But what she forgot to mention was her handbag, in which it would be perfectly possible to conceal a gun. You're right. Well done, partner. I had a feeling you picked up on that, too. What are you insinuating, you vile blackguard? It's really very simple. The gunshot was heard when the defendant picked up the gun from the restaurant floor. As he didn't fire that gun, we can deduce that there must have been another firearm at the scene. The true murder weapon, if you will. You can't be seriously suggesting. Inspector Hasanaga. Yes? Did you or did you not search Miss Giselle Brett's handbag on the day of the murder? No, sir. I did not. As I thought. In other words, another gun, the one that was actually used to kill the professor, could have been hidden in Miss Brett's handbag. What is the meaning of this, Inspector? The meaning of what, Prosecutor Ouchie? Why on earth did you not have the lady open her handbag and show you the contents at the time? Thanks to your bungling incompetence, she now has to endure these uncomfortable accusations. Brilliant work, partner. Now we have a chance to expose the real woman behind the mask. Do you think so? Well, what a sorry situation. Clearly, you have no faith in the police. As I said, I did not search the lady's handbag after the shooting, simply because it was unnecessary. Unnecessary in what way? I had to thank the student lawyer, really. I have a piece of evidence here that I'd completely forgotten about. The photographic print. It's a photograph that I thought would be prudent to take immediately after the shooting. As you can see, it clearly shows Miss Brett's handbag. See right through to what's inside. Apparently, meshwork bags like these are the height of fashion in London at the moment, so the content are clearly visible. So there's no need to search the lady's handbag. If there had been a gun inside, it would have been immediately obvious. As you can see, there's nothing to imply Mrs. Brett's guilt here. Thank you for helping to prove that, Naruhodo-san. Inspector Osanaga, you will submit that print as evidence at once. Certainly, Your Excellency. I think you've had long enough to cross-examine the witness, counsel. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Things of note here, obviously we have the glass. We got a bowl tattoo, or birthmark, on his wrist. Let's compare it to the other photo real quick. So that'd be taken from that side. Oh, hold on. Cow moment. He has the imprint of a cow head on his wrist. It's not a tattoo. Also, this chair should be facing the other way. The court has now been showed considerable evidence. As the photographic print just submitted into the court record appears to have no further significance, I am satisfied that there is no longer any room for doubt in this matter, and I must take my ruling. Indeed, there is only one logical conclusion. The pathetic rookie slumped over the bench before us is the only possible perpetrator of this crime. Just when I thought I was beginning to turn things around. I'm in a worse situation than I was at the start. Kazuma? I'm sorry, Ryunosuke. Now that the cross-examination of the witness is over, there's no way to force the trial to continue. What? You mean this is it? I must say, you put up quite a fight for a rookie student. But the weak are meat while the strong eat. You're wasting your time. There's no way to defeat true justice. A fact you can chew on to your heart's content from the inside of your cell. This can't be happening. Am I really going to be found guilty of a crime that I didn't commit? And Kazuma, his dream of going to study in Great Britain will slip through his fingers. Kazuma. Is there really no chance now of turning this trial around? You heard the judge. There's nothing about that last photograph the detective produced that we can contest, which means there's no basis on which we can argue for the trial to continue. Very well, I will now proceed immediately to the ruling. Seems we'll be able to report to the British government on time after all. That smug little Ryunosuke Naruto, having considered all of the evidence placed before me, I hereby find you... Wait, Your Excellency. Ryunosuke? I don't think you can rule on this case yet. His amateurness is getting tedious. When His Excellency deems that the trial is over, he gives his ruling. That is the most basic protocol of the courtroom. Your Excellency, just a moment ago you said this. As the photographic print just submitted appears to have no further significance, there is no longer any room for doubt in this matter, and I must make my ruling. Now then, it means if there was a problem with the evidence, some significant detail, I mean, the ruling on the case at this time would be out of the question. That's blatant straw clutching. Look at this photographic print. Every time I do it makes me chuckle. All it shows is a handbag the gentlewoman was carrying on the day in question. There can be no problem with this evidence. You better know what you're doing. I understand your objection, counsel. Certainly, the new evidence submitted by the detective has not undergone the court's scrutiny. However, I fail to see how we can glean any new information on this handbag. My thoughts exactly. Really, the prosecution is becoming tired of this rookie's desperate wheezes. Yes, I am desperate, but this isn't a wheeze. There's something about this photograph which just doesn't seem right. If only I could put my finger on it. Very well, I'll grant the defense one final opportunity. What? I'll be warned that if I am unsatisfied by your response here, the trial will be over with immediate effect. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Your Excellency. So, take another look at the photographic print. You have identified for the court where in this print we see the significant detail which you have alluded. Okay. I think it has... I can't prove the relevance yet. But, like, if this bull mark is here... that means he had his hand on the table here. That'd be his right hand. So then he would have been sitting... Would he have been sitting here? But then, like, I feel like this is it. But then at the same time, like, the chair being pushed... I mean, I guess you could... No, because if it was, like, turned out, then the seat would be like that. I think I'm gonna go with the cow brand.
Yes!
Look at this here. There's a very unusual mark on the victim's wrist. That is true. Looks almost like a burn of some description.
Objection!
Dear me, I was pondering what new piffle you would come out with. A burn, you say, on the victim's wrist. Clearly that has nothing to do whatsoever to do with the magnificent lady's handbag. Yes, that is a burn mark. You're right. Go on, Inspector. The police coroner also noticed it when he was performing the post-mortem examination. It was deemed unrelated to the cause of death, so he didn't note it in his report. What did I tell you? In any case, we have no idea when the victim suffered this burn, do we? And no possible way of knowing. Fuck you! Fuck you! I do know! Fuck you! The more I look at it, the more I find myself intrigued by the curious shape of this mark. It's a cow. It's a cow. I know my cows! I cannot allow any further time to be spent on the precise details of this burn. Excuse me, Your Excellency. It would seem Miss Brett has a lunch appointment with the Dean and other university staff. She would like to know if she may be excused from the stand now. Oh, of course, dear lady. We shan't hold you up any longer. I'm quite sure His Excellency is about to give his final ruling anyway. Come on, Your Excellency, don't do this. Do you believe this burn does have something to do with the case? To be honest, I'm not really sure. But if I don't keep pushing, then it's all over. So I was thinking I should keep digging and digging in hope that I might uncover something useful. Yes, you're right. I am? If we just link that burn to the case, if we can do that, we might be able to prise this shutting door back open once again. Just give up, Counsel. You can't possibly hope to do that. Indeed. I'm afraid that without evidence, I can't allow you to pursue what is little more than conjecture. But if we had evidence... evidence that irrefutably linked a burn on the victim's wrist to the case, then you would allow it? I would, yes. To tell the truth, I hadn't noticed that burn. But as soon as you pointed it out, what I did notice was the color draining from Miss Brett's face. I have to find some link between that burn and the case. It's the plate! It's the plate! This is the moment of truth. It's time to find some evidence that proves what that burn really means. That defense will present its evidence. It's this photo. Let me just make sure. Yeah.
Yes!
What's this, Counsel? Yet another print? Yes, Your Excellency. I believe his photographic prints are an amazing invention. When we humans look at a scene, we miss things. But in a photograph, things we may have overlooked at the time are recorded forevermore. Do hurry up, Rookie. What are you trying to say? To inconvenience this poor lady any further really would be inexcusable. Actually, we may need you to stay with us a little longer if you don't mind, Miss Brett. I took a sippy. I'll take another. You see, it's very clearly visible in this other photograph. How did the victim come to have that unusually shaped burn on his wrist? The reason is recorded here forevermore. What? How? You can't fool me with your little bluffs, boy. If that's your game, then let's see how it plays out. Show the court exactly what you mean. Right there, bitch. Take that. Yes. The beefsteak? Actually, the point is the metal plate the steak was served on. The plate? Ah, Your Excellency, are you alright? As you can see, there's an emblem on the plate. Oh, I guess it's some sort of trademark of La Carnival. Ah! The emblem on the plate. And the victim's burn are exactly the same shape. You're genius. You're spot on. Which means the victim must have suffered this burn while he was present at the restaurant.
Objection!
But even if that is the case, you can't know if it happened on the day in question or not. It could have been the day before, or the day before that. It most likely happened at some unrelated time. Well,
Objection!
sadly, Prosecutor Ouchie, the chances of that are extremely slim. Thanks. Why? The outline of the burn is clearly discernible. Such a serious injury would have caused quite a commotion in the restaurant. Wouldn't you agree, Inspector Hasanaga? I can't imagine having missed such a terrible disaster, certainly. But... I would say, looking at the picture of the wound, that it wasn't suffered very long ago. And although it's not a particularly large burn, it's extremely well defined, as the defense just pointed out. There was no mild burn, that's for sure. Can you be more specific? Let's see. If the plate was at around 90 degrees centigrade, a burn like that would have taken around 3 seconds. It's inconceivable that the victim would have let out a scream of pain then. I've been investigating at the restaurant for several weeks already, but I've not heard anyone scream at all. As the head waiter at La Carnival, I can testify to that without hesitation. But you're a detective, not a waiter!
Yes!
There you have it. Something isn't right here. As the detective said, anyone who burnt themselves on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds would scream in pain. There's no question of that. Yet Inspector Hasanaga never heard the professor scream. Not on that day or any day before it. That's right. The strange thing is, the day he was shot, I didn't hear him cry out either. What are you suggesting? Well, if the professor had carelessly laid his wrist on the plate for anything like 3 seconds that day, that would be beyond careless, I think. Then the rest of us in the restaurant, myself, the sergeant, and the old antiques dealer, all of us, without any question, would have heard him scream. Wouldn't you agree, Prosecutor Ouchie? Well, yes, I suppose. So the question is, why didn't a single person hear Dr. Wilson scream? I almost don't believe it. Ryunosuke, do you think? Can it really be true? I never dreamed we'd arrive at a conclusion like this, but I'm starting to think that maybe we've been led into a terrible trap. There's only one explanation I can think of to make sense of this apparent impossibility. On the day in question, when he suffered the burn to his wrist, Dr. Wilson was already dead. No man could remain silent while his wrist was burning on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds. It's clearly impossible. Apart from one in particular situation. Counsel, are you suggesting... Yes, it's only possible if the man was already dead. Knowing what we know now, it's the only possible explanation. When the beefsteak was brought to Dr. Wilson's table that day, the professor was already dead. That's madness! Oh, and you could see his confidence building. Counsel, explain this absurd notion at once. The victim was killed by a gunshot. That's right. That's absolutely right, Your Excellency. This is just another ridiculous ploy by the rookie student. He clearly has not grasped the facts. No, Prosecutor. It is you who has no grasp of the facts. I beg your pardon? As soon as it became apparent that the victim had suffered that burn while at the restaurant, this whole case was turned upside down. Why have you not grasped that yet? Your Excellency, the court must hear from this witness again. If it's true, as we now believe, that the victim was already dead before the gunshot was heard, it's highly likely that Miss Brett knows something about it. Incredible. I certainly didn't anticipate this twist of events. I'm sorry to say, Miss Brett, that you will have to forget your luncheon engagement. But, Your Excellency... Justice system in our country may be in its infancy, but rest assured, All reasonable doubt must be dispelled before I am prepared to pass judgment. Thank you, Your Excellency. What was that smile? Yes, of course. I mean, I'd be delighted to help. Especially if it helps relations between my country and yours. Ah, Miss Brett, you speak Japanese? Well, of course I do. I'm studying your country after all. But then, why have you been speaking through an interpreter until now? My mother tongue, the Queen's English, is the most refined and elegant language in the world. As a gentlewoman, I try to avoid speaking in your vulgar tones as much as... Oh! But it seems the men in this land possess none of the chivalrous virtues of English gentlemen. So I can see that I'll have to lower myself to communicating with you all on your own level. Oh, well... You're the epitome of a true English gentlewoman. We are truly honored by this lavish consideration you graciously afford us. I see. In that case, Miss Brett, I'll now ask you to testify in your own words about the events leading up to the death of the victim, Dr. Wilson. Finally gonna hear her own words on the matter. Things are getting interesting. Unfortunately, I have no idea when the poor man burnt his wrist like that. When the waiter brought my steak, the professor and I raised our glasses in toast. As far as I heard, the post-mortem report showed no other possible of death besides the gunshot. Oh, it's the fucking poison! She took the glass! She took the fucking... She took the glass that he drank from. Because the glass that is at the scene is currently at the spot with the steak that she was eating. But of course, this country's inferior investigative techniques probably wouldn't pick up on it anyway. That most captivating and beautiful testimony will go down in Superior Court's history. Thank you. Easy doesn't. I hope that is the last time I'll have to sully my lips with the coarse tones of your unbecoming tongue. Oh, forgive me. I do hope I haven't insulted anyone. Not at all, not at all. It is a delight to merely hear you speak, dear lady. And it seems very clear from your testimony that this boorish talk of the victim's burn is utterly irrelevant. I will be speaking to your country's Minister of Justice about what has happened here today. But the Minister of Justice? May that irritating little bully of a student be given the harshest punishment possible. Amen. Thanks? Is that a prayer, then? Well, you'll have to forgive the irritation, Miss Brett, and put up with the cross-examination now. I expect you've noticed this little bully of a student, as you put it, doesn't miss much. Okay, so I know how I need to get there. I know the destination. I just need to get there. Yes, Your Excellency. Then you may proceed with cross-examination.
Yes!
His hand was on the searing hot plate for at least 3 seconds. You could not have noticed. Do you think so? Let me ask you something. Sorry? Ever since I arrived at this courtroom, and even still now, The fly on those unsettling black trousers of yours has been wide open. You can't not have noticed, can you? Huh? What? Ah! Ha! What fun. You hadn't realized. The dear lady is absolutely right. As your friend, you've embarrassed me as well as yourself. Why didn't you tell me? Dr. Wilson was a true English gentleman. He chose honorable silence over a vulgar scream. Can your tiny little brains imagine such a thing? Oh yes, I think my tiny brain can.
Yes!
Well, I can't. Anyway. The waiter brought my steak. The professor and I raised our glasses in a toast.
Yes!
As you testified before, you were drinking carbonated water, is that right? Dr. Wilson was only permitted to drink water at that time, if you remember. Which explains why he ordered that drink. Correct, Raider? Were they working together on it? Though, whether or not the professor actually drank any of the water when I delivered the steak to the table, I'm afraid I don't remember that. Damn you. Ah, I have enough English to understand that at least. For the benefits of the others, it means bless you. I think it means the exact opposite. Anyway. Post-mortem reports showed no other possible cause of death besides a gunshot.
Yes!
Yes, it's written here in the paperwork. Fatal hemorrhage from ballistic trauma. Yes. Luckily for all of us, a little burn on the wrist isn't going to kill us. As there are no other signs of trauma on the victim's body to indicate some other cause of death, well, it's been a bullet from your gun that put an end to this man's miserable life. The burn must have happened straight away when the plate was first brought to the table. It's true. If it cooled even slightly, it wouldn't have been able to make a burn like that. And if the victim burnt his wrist on the hot plate as soon as it was brought out from the kitchen, then he must have already been dead at that point. We're just sort of pushing that. There's some other way a man's life can be taken without leaving a trace. Please do show me. I don't think I have anything yet.
Yes!
Inferior? What do you mean by that? In the lands of the Great British Empire, the police store everything found at a crime scene for later examination. But this country, you investigate once and that's the end of it. Isn't that so? Quite right. La Carnival is open for business as usual today, just days after the incident. Which means that even if the investigation takes a different direction, vital evidence may be lost. Oh, V, you're right on time. It doesn't even occur to your native detectives to try and preserve the crime scene. I'm trying to be as tactful about this as I can, you understand. Amazing. It's actually admitting our police may be flawed. Last prosecutor Ouchie is finally coming to his senses. I very much doubt that. Still, there's something about what Miss Brett just said. There's a moment before, something didn't seem quite right. What do you think? I think it's going terribly, no matter how much I press her. I'm not turning up any new information. Yes, as I suspected. She's a tough witness. We need to find a way to break her testimony and cross-examine her over. Do I have to do Cosma? There is one thing I noticed. Something that's been bothering me. About Miss Bratt. Actually, No. About the person standing next to her, Inspector Hasanaga. The detective? Yes. He seemed to react a little strangely to Miss Brett's last statement. I was wondering if it might be significant. If it might present an opening, maybe. Alright, I have an idea. Try pressing her on that last statement one more time. If you think so, but this time, instead of targeting the woman herself, let's see what we can get out of the detective. Alright then. I wonder what Cosmo's thinking. Find out soon enough, I suppose.
Yes! Wait.
Am I supposed to do anything here? Can I click on that? He's doing the thing. Yes, there it is again. The detective's reaction is just the same as before. Also, I love that no one questions that we're having the same conversation again. The detective has been in the stand with Miss Brett as her interpreter. But things are very different now. For this testimony, the detective is just listening to what the Englishwoman has to say. This could be a golden opportunity. What do you mean? When people are actually testifying, they're usually very careful not to let anything slip. However, when they're listening to someone else speak, you'll find they often let their guard down. You're right. Look at him. He's lost in his own thoughts. It's time to pursue the man in his train of thought. Sorry? Pursue? I'll explain how to do it now. It's all to do with the witness marker. What marker? At the moment, we're focused on Miss Brett, who's the person actually making the current statement. But by moving the marker left and right with A and B, you can turn your attention to other people on the stand. While you're looking at the other witness, you'll be able to pursue them with space. If you can catch the person at just the right time, you might uncover some new information to pursue. If you ever notice a strange atmosphere amongst the people on the stand, take a good look around.
Wait. Excuse me.
Excuse me. What's the meaning of this? Do you need a Ricola? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to shock you. He really was lost in his thoughts. Looks like you were thinking something just now, Inspector. Perhaps having heard what the lady next to you had to say. If there's something you'd like to say, please share it with the court.
Attention!
What is the meaning of this? It's a delightful Englishwoman who's testifying at the moment. If you can't find fault with her testimony, then the cross-examination should be over. Oh, is that how it works? Absolutely not. The detective is on the stand, which makes him a valid witness. Yes, not to mention the fact he's intimately involved in the case. Inspector Hasanaga? Yes. Do you have something to add in relation to the statement just made by Miss Brett? Well, yes, if you don't mind. I would like to speak. The lady is right. Our country's police practices are not as modern as those used in Great Britain. Which is why Satoru Hasanaga, always strive to make every investigation I'm involved in flawless. What do you really mean by that? I'll tell you what I mean. I won't have evidence lacking on my watch. I'm not afraid to take everything I can from the scene of a crime. It's preserving evidence, you see. I don't care if they call me a crime scene thief. I'm not ashamed of what I've done. A crime scene thief? Well, it looks like the lady's remarks touched a nerve there. Take this, for example. Is that? This is the bottle of carbonated water that I took to the victim's table on that day in question. And yes, it's lost all its fizz, having been opened for 3 days ago now. But it was carbonated water. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, there's some left in the bottle. I can see it. One day our police force will be among the best in the world. The time is coming, I guarantee it. Can't say I condone the witness's actions, but I do understand the sentiment. The court will accept the glass bottle of water as evidence. Alright, I'm gonna take a look at that real quick. Label is written in a foreign language that I don't recognize. Do you know what it says? I think it's French. This must be very expensive water. Yes, but what does it say? That's what I was asking. Then go to France and ask. You could just say that you don't know. Let's see. It's the last drink Dr. Wilson ever had. Looks like there's a little left in the bottle. Although it's just plain water now. You know, I've been sweating so much. I'm absolutely parched. I'll just have a sip of this to keep me going. No, you can't do that. For one thing, that's evidence. You can't go drinking evidence. Oh, no, you're right. We don't know what might be inside, do we? You never cease to amaze me, in more ways than one. I wonder, could there be anything in this water? What's the matter? You've gone quiet all of a sudden. I think I might have just worked something out. An interesting possibility. Can you confirm that this is indeed the bottle from which you drank on the day of the victim's death? Yes, it was that bottle. What was that about? She seemed to avert her eyes when she answered the judge's question. Very well, counsel, you may resume the cross-examination. And the inspector will kindly control his fervor. Unfortunately, I have no idea when the perman bore his wrist like that.
Yes!
What is this? The bottle of water? Actually, there's one method of killing man without leaving a trace that comes to mind. Obviously, I'm referring to poison. Poison? On the day of his death, we know that Dr. Wilson drank from this bottle of carbonated water. Could it be that there was poison inside? Could it be that the professor actually died after taking a sip from his glass? And on that day, who was sitting at the same table as the professor and able to slip the poison into his drink? There's only one person who possibly could have done it. Jezeel Brett. It was you.
Objection!
This is outrageous to suggest such a thing without a scrap of evidence. You rookie imbecile. Have you ever considered the delicate situation our country finds itself in now? Have you forgotten that we have only just signed an accord of friendship? Have you even the vaguest inkling that your rash accusations could jeopardize the entire treaty?
Objection!
This is not a political arena. This is a trial to determine one individual's guilt with respect to one crime. The fact that this woman is British makes no difference. We are here to determine the truth. Ahem, if I may. I will silence you forever for this disgraceful attack on a young It is you who should be silent. Of course. Dear lady. Where did that come from? I'm afraid I may have spoken unfairly before. I offer my most humble apologies. I'm sorry, my lady. To what are you referring? I described your police force as inferior, but no matter how inferior they may be, you still investigated this particular point thoroughly, I believe. The bottle, I mean, Inspector, and whether it contained poison or not. Of course. You did? Have you forgotten what my guiding principle is already? I strive for a flawless investigation at every time. Naturally, we tested the inside of the bottle and its contents. And what did you find? I ordered tests for every toxin that's available in this country at present time. We could not find trace of poison or of any description in the card but the fucking... damn it. You sure? The tests were meticulously carried out by the chief coroner himself. You're gonna hurt your spine doing that, bud. I'm very grateful to all you Japanese. You've successfully established my complete innocence in this horrid affair. Thank you. But of course, dear lady, the pleasure was all ours. I was so sure. This can't be right. Everything falls into place if he was poisoned. Thank you, counsel. I think the cross-examination has clarified everything. As the prosecution have asserted, a shot to the chest from the gun is the only conceivable cause of death. Furthermore, the accused, who by his own admission was holding this weapon, is the only possible culprit. I'm done for. The court wishes to apologize for the great inconvenience this has caused you, Miss Brett. Oh no, I'm just glad the matter is resolved. Before proceeding, I must ask the counsel for the defense. Do you have any further new evidence to present at the court at this point? Kazuma? I'm sorry, Ryunosuke. I have nothing more. Well, if you excuse me now, I really must be leaving.
Hold it!
Please, wait. Isn't that... What is the meaning of this? Forgive me for intruding on court proceedings, Your Excellency. Susato Mikotoba, Judicial Assistant to the Defense. Mikotoba? In my darkest hour, nowhere left to go, she appeared like a bolt of lightning. And in her hand, she carried a small package wrapped in a furoshiki cloth. We support girls' rights and girls' wrongs in this household. Thank you very much. Well, I understand you're the judicial assistant to defense. But why this sudden ingress into my courtroom? A judicial assistant and a woman, no less. The rules state that females are not permitted into this court of law other than to testify. Yes, I fully understand. I only asked for 5 minutes of time. I have some vital evidence that I must hand over to defense. Ha! You're too late, little girl. The trial has already been concluded. 5 minutes. I will not allow a moment more. But, Your Excellency, I am most grateful. Wow, we got 3 people at the bench. Who exactly are you? I'm sorry, there's no time. Please, simply accept this for now. What is it? A report about something? Written in English. It's Giselle Brett's research. The English woman's? After the trial resumed earlier, I hurried back to the university. went to Dr. Wilson's lab and borrowed this paper. Oh yes, that's right. Miss Brett was studying under the professor, wasn't she? So does this research, whatever it is, have something to do with the case? I'm afraid I don't know. I haven't been able to listen to the proceedings of the trial myself. Oh, no, of course not. Special characteristics of Curer and its effects on human subjects. Interesting. Curer? What's that? Time's up. The prosecution demands the immediate removal of this female trespasser from the courtroom. There's too little time for me to read it in detail, but I've summarized what I could on a note just inside the cover. If you think it could be valuable, please cast your eye over it. This is wonderful. Thank you. Goodbye, then. And good luck. She got Thanos. Holy shit. You've had long enough, Council. We cannot... Okay. Has it been officially added? Poison made from the bark of certain trees in the jungles of South America. Hunters in the region have used it since ancient times to incapacitate their prey. Instant paralysis of the entire body and subsequent death, even in minute doses. The above-mentioned effects occur when the poison enters the body through a wound, such as that inflicted by a blow to... Oh my god! Due to its ability to render the human body paralytic, it is believed the toxin could have application as an anesthetic. However, a solution for the respiratory risk caused by a result must be found first or die of suffocation. Oh, okay. Ask the prosecution and defense now one last time. Does either side have any further evidence to present to the court? The prosecution has made its case convincingly enough already. Nothing more to add. I'm wondering... Oh, wrong button. He just had his tooth pulled. I'm wondering... It was slipped into his drink. When he drank it, it got into the wound where he had his tooth pulled. Paralyzed him. Killed him. Your Excellency, the defense does have new evidence. Look, the unyielding stare of a true Japanese warrior. Well, Miss Brett? Yes, Your Excellency? If you wouldn't mind, perhaps you could grace us with your presence a little longer. It's a delightful invitation, but I'm afraid it's not so very long until tea time. I'll have to politely decline. Forgive me, Miss Brett. It seems I wasn't clear. I realize it was phrased as a question. However, I must ask you to treat this as an order. I've said it many times before, but Japanese language makes no sense. My apologies, dear lady. So, Counsel, what is this new evidence? It's my university pin.
Yes!
Miss Giselle Brett, we understand you are studying under Dr. Wilson at Yume University, doing research. Research, by sheer coincidence perhaps, into a deadly poison. What? Poison? Where are you going with this, Counsel? A toxin known as Curer, Your Excellency. Even the slightest amount of this deadly poison entering the body leads to instant death. What? What complete and utter nonsense? Curer, you say? I've never even heard of it. You wouldn't have done... What do you mean? I mean you wouldn't have heard of Curer before. It is for one simple reason. It doesn't exist in our country. It doesn't exist? Which means, no matter what tests the police can do for toxins, they'd never identify Curer. Why? Because there is no test available here that can identify the presence of this highly deadly poison. Counsel, does this deadly poison truly exist? According to this report authored by the visiting research student from England, curare has long been used by the tribespeople of South America as a poison to lace their arrows. It seems that it's reasonably well known among European doctors and scientists. To lace their arrows? The report states that it's produced from the extract of a tree that grows deep within the Amazonian jungle, and it was first brought back to Europe at the turn of the century by explorers. It claims that animals shot by arrows laced with curare suffer instant death. Doesn't that about sum it up, Miss Brett?
Objection!
Trumpery. These aspirations are utter trumpery. To start with, if the victim had been administered some of the so-called deadly poison, he would have been squirming and writhing in pain. The other diners would have noticed. That's true. What do you say to that, Inspector? If you read page 2 of the document, it's a paralytic. Don't remember anything like that either. According to this, however, it's the other way around. What do you mean, the other way around? The very fact that the victim didn't show any visible signs of distress is evidence that curare was used. The moment this toxin enters a person's system, it causes instant paralysis. In other words, afflicted victims lose all strength and are completely unable to move. Even if they were in total agony, there would be no visible signs of pain at all. How terrible. Obviously, if a man lost all the strength in his muscles, he'd collapse on the floor. But with a chair under him for support, as Dr. Wilson did, the effects could go largely unnoticed. But I don't follow. That's just paralysis. I thought the poison caused instant death. A full explanation is extremely unpleasant. Let's see. He's paralyzed. But after a short time, the paralysis is so severe it causes the muscles that control respiration to fail. In other words, the actual cause of death is suffocation. And all the while, the victim is conscious and aware, just unable to move. It's hideous. To the observer, it would look almost like the victim was slipping peacefully into an endless sleep. But for the victim himself, his final moments would be a living hell. That is the true nature of this deadly curare poison. And you're suggesting that this bottle, Counsel, is actually containing this terrifying poison? This is all very convenient, isn't it? A hitherto unknown poison for which there is no means of testing? What a happy tale for the defense. Ahem, if I may. All these facts. You think you're so clever, but you must be taught. It is you who must be taught. Of course. Dear lady. So, this is how you Japanese behave, is it? What? You steal another's honest hard work and then announce the results as if you discovered them? I'm appalled. What a loathsome act. Well, Miss Brett, the feeling is mutual. Whatever do you mean? Capitalizing on the unfortunate circumstances of an innocent man to frame him for a heinous crime, that really is a loathsome act. Wouldn't you agree? I, for one, refuse to accept it. The idea of some poison that doesn't even exist in the great empire of Japan is breaking the rules. What's so funny? Oh, excuse me, Your Excellency. May I borrow that bottle for a moment, please? Yes, I don't see, why not? Don't get too big for your boots, you magnificent little island boys. Sorry. To an Englishwoman such as myself, this whole affair is a farcical comedy. Your little police games and these foolish courtroom antics. It's laughable, really. But I'm getting bored of it all now. It's time for the games to end. Cheers. Wait, what are you doing? No sparkle left at all. How appropriate for this shabby affair. Then she just goes stiff and collapses. Goodness. Whatever is the matter? You all looked quite stunned. So, no curare. The bottle was clean. Is that what you're saying? You look quite incredulous, little boy, but of course. That's the simple truth. Thank you for presenting the findings of my research so concisely here in this grand venue. Most kind. Thank you, waiter. Now then, Your Excellency. Yes, Miss Brett. I should like to be excused now, please. I think I've given more than enough of my time for the furtherance of a friendship between our countries. Yes, dear lady. We are most gratified with all the assistance you've given. This doesn't make sense. There had to have been poison in that bottle. How did she swallow a whole glass and live to tell the tale? Well, I suppose if nothing else, this little Far Eastern charade will make for an interesting conversation at the next party I attend in London. There has to have been poison in that bottle, wasn't there? Because otherwise she would have keeled over dead. Come on. We have all the clues now. A bottle of water contains no poison. There is no poison in that bottle. What? What? Why? Isn't it obvious? If there was poison in there, she'd be dead by now. Sometimes your unadulterated naivety really astounds me. But sometimes it's in need of a good staining. Until it's as dark as your uniform in the ways of the world. Oh, is that what this color is supposed to be represent? Oh, what the fuck? I thought it was the glass! The bottle of water contains poison. It's not a Bimbozo moment! The culprit did procure poison. That's what I'm saying! It was put in the drink, not the bottle! The fence refuses to change its position. You're serious? Fool, are you blind? There's no possible way that bottle could contain poison. I mean, we just saw Miss Brett drinking the water from it. That's right, which rather complicates your argument, I think. And I believe that complication can be explained. How, exactly? I need to think through all the things that don't quite add up here, one by one. I'm sure the answer's in the evidence we have in the court rec. It's fucking right here, bitch. It's right here. Defense truly intends to assert this claim. And I must ask you to support the assertion with evidence. What explains how the witness was able to consume this supposedly doesn't fucking... It's fucking... This, yes. Baby. It seems to... Since, should I say, the wretched accused. What the fuck? Okay. I haven't gotten to that step yet. I need to work up to it. Oh, wait, yeah. No, it has to be put into a, wound. And Chia doesn't have a wound.
Yes!
The answer to this riddle is right here in her own report. It's not a valid explanation. No. After all, we don't speak English. That report is utter gibberish. That impudent scoundrel is trying to ridicule the court, Your Excellency. I'm just reading Susanoo-san's notes. I concur. This report is too extensive to be considered in its entirety by the court. You will direct us to the pertinent section, Counsel. Which section of the report? I believe it's the special characteristics section. I believe if it's going in order. Yeah. We've been hearing a lot about this Curare poison. And it's left me curious about something. Well, it sounds as though indigenous hunters have been using this poison for years and years to lace the heads of arrows that they shoot at whatever prey they're hunting. So we've been led to believe, yes. And the point of hunting is to catch prey to eat. Get to the point, please. But if they were to use these laced arrows, doesn't that mean there would be traces of poison left in the prey hunters were going to eat? So surely the hunters wouldn't want to eat their prey, would they? Because then they'd be eating poison. I actually found the answer to that conundrum in this research paper here. Under special characteristics, it says this. The poison starts to work after entering the body through a wound. Yes. The mention of that particular detail seemed a little strange to me, though. But it all makes sense when you interpret what's written like this. When the Curare enters the body through an open wound, it has terrifying poison effects. However, when it enters the body via the mouth, it has no poisonous effects whatsoever. What? Miss Brett, you are author to this research. You knew Curare's special characteristics, and you knew that you can make a spectacle of drinking that water without any danger to yourself. You meddling little rapscallion! That bird is alive. You're an even better lawyer than I thought you'd be. Really? Me?
Objection!
All this poison talk is fascinating, I'm sure, but I fail to see how it's So, the ill-bred little puppy has a new toy to play with. Some facts he read in a book. But I'm afraid knowledge doesn't suit you, little boy, and only makes you look silly. What are you trying to say? Your schoolboyish logic has a fatal flaw. As even your brain has managed to deduce, Curare is safe to ingest. It seems likely that its effects are neutralized by the acidic nature of the gastric succus. Oh, yes, well, of course. Gastric suckers? What? What are they? So, if this lethal poison is completely harmless when drunk, the professor wouldn't have died when he swallowed it, would he? That's right. Good gracious. That's basic science. Science that even a schoolboy should be able to understand, no? The logic holds. If the lady and the professor drank the same poison, they would be affected in the same way. Are you trying to suggest? Yes, Curare poison is completely irrelevant to the case on trial. That's right. Surely even a little cockroach like you could understand something as simple as that. What is this welling up inside me? I've never felt like this before. It's a sort of conviction to break down all the discrepancies. It's so intense, almost rage-like. And more than anything else, it's an animalistic desire to take down my prey.
Objection!
I don't think so, Miss Giselle Brett. How dare you use that tone with me? You know very well that there is no fatal flaw here. You know exactly why, even though you and the victim both swallowed the same poison. You are alive, but Dr. Wilson is dead. Sure, I don't need to remind you. You must provide compelling evidence. As we now know, this poison is completely harmless when ingested. Why would Dr. Wilson alone have been killed by the Curer? Fucking... he got his tooth pulled, bitch! As Miss Brett so readily pointed out, she drank the same water as the professor. However, there was a fundamental and fatal difference between the two diners. The toxic effects of Cure are only felt when the poison enters the body through a wound. So for a healthy person with no injuries, drinking it is completely harmless. But what if there was a wound inside the mouth of the person drinking the poisoned water? Inside? Yes, like the wound you might have if you had just been to the dentist and had a tooth extracted, for example. Miss Brett, you've acknowledged many times in your testimony already that you are well aware of Dr. Wilson's dental appointment that day. So that's it. We use that knowledge to orchestrate this. She laughing? I don't like to repeat myself, but honestly, I can't resist. These childish courtroom games and your half-baked arguments are also fuck me. It's a $10 vocab word there. What do you mean? Don't worry, little schoolboy. You'll find out soon enough. You see, when you leave vital evidence lying around, you never know what might happen to it. No! I mean, he could just slip. Oh dear, how careless of me. I'm afraid some crucial evidence may have just been tragically destroyed. It's the English one. She just smashed that bottle. And in the Supreme Court. What a terrible blunder. You're wasting your time. This delightful carpet under my feet here was a gift from the British Empire. I assure you, it will soak up the water beautifully. You have neither technology nor the presence of mind to recover it. How could you? You won't get away with this. You can thump the bench and shout as much as you like, little boy. But I'm afraid we'll never know now, will we? If there really was poison in the bottle, or not. And let us not forget, we still have some very compelling evidence left intact. Isn't that right, counsel for the prosecution? You're referring to this photographic print, I assume, dear lady. That's right. Really, looking at this photograph, it's as clear as day. Our professor was sitting with his back to me. So of course the only person who could have shot him from the front was the little schoolboy. No, you killed the victim that day, using Curer. And then, in order to frame Ryunosuke Naruhodo for the crime, you waited until he picked up the pistol you arranged for him to find on the floor, before you shot the professor's dead body in the chest with your own hidden gun. Then, in the confusion that followed, all you had to do was turn the dead professor in his chair around. You see, you had every opportunity present to commit this crime. What a wonderful imagination you have, young man. The hidden gun, you say? And I shot the professor's dead body, did I? Well, I'm terribly sorry, but you don't have a shred of evidence. Exactly. And as you have nothing to support your wild claims, the prosecution's stance remains unchanged. The victim, Dr. John H. Wilson, was killed by a gunshot to the chest. Delivered in cold blood by the accused Ryunosuke Naruhodo. How can this be happening? We had her. Is she really gonna get away with this? The way she destroyed that evidence was obscene. We've come this far, but now you're the only one who can finish it. We've lost a vital piece of evidence, it's true. So if there are any clues left for us to use now, they must be in your head. You told me before that your powers of observation were one thing you could really depend on. But I didn't manage to notice that this woman was a foreigner with a swan on her head. So think back to it now. Try to remember every last detail about the scene that day. Everything you saw, everything you felt, every color, every smell. Oh, God, it's hot. What I saw. What I felt. Every color. Is Kazuma right? Somewhere in the vibrant memory of this same scene in my head. Could there be another clue to expose the identity of Dr. Wilson's killer? I'm sorry, Kazuma, but you're wrong. I think it might have something. Thinking back over everything I saw, I think I might have uncovered another clue. You always have something up your sleeve, don't you? Come on, then. Let's wipe that smug smile off that Englishwoman's face with some evidence. Alright. I can't wait. It's been... it's been niggling me for a while, and something feels amiss in my memories of that day. Whatever it is could be the key to arriving at the truth of all this. It's here somewhere. The clue that shows who Dr. Wilson's real killer must be. There's blood on the plate.
Take that!
Hasanaga, answer me this. Yes? What is it? Ugh, he's still miles away. Probably thinking about that bottle being smashed. As you've said a number of times now, you strive for perfection in your investigations, don't you? Absolutely. I wonder, therefore, if perhaps you took anything else from the scene of the crime. Like, for instance, the plate of steak that you took to the victim's table that day. Wait a minute. Where are you going with this? Where are you going with this, little boy? It's just a memory that's been troubling me. What memory? I saw the scene shown in this photographic print with my own eyes that day. And I saw that wooden base of the plate the steak was served on. A splattering of blood. What? Oh, really? And what of it? Obviously that must have happened when you shot the professor. No, that can't be the case. Take a good look at the photograph. And the relative position of everything there. The plate of steak is almost directly behind the victim. If I'm supposed to have shot Dr. Wilson in the chest from the front, there's no way the blood from the victim could have ended up directly behind him. For blood to have made it to the plate, it implies the plate was between the victim and the shooter, which means the shooter must have been sitting opposite of the professor as you were. Giselle Brett, I beg your pardon?
Objection!
This is beyond ridiculous. Fabricated nonsense. Is the court seriously expected to believe something the accusative apparently just remembered seeing? This could be the moment that my entire career in the police force has been leading to. You mean... Yes! I took the plate, in the interest of preserving evidence from the scene of the crime. I took it, meat and all, and I don't care if they call me a crime scene thief because of it. You did what? I took the steak you had been eating, Miss Brett. I took the steak that the sergeant had been eating. I did it all in the name of justice. Then we can find out for sure whether or not there's a bloodstain on Miss Brett's plate. We must examine it, now. Inspector. The court wishes to examine the plate from the victim's table immediately. Yes, sir. I like this guy. Man, that is 3D old steak. Here's what you ordered. The steak. Well, what about the blood? Is there blood on it? course there isn't. Quickly, Inspector. The blood man. Show the court. Of course. Examine the plate at your leisure. No, this... No blood. Hold on. Hold the fuck. No. 1, 2... I think that's a different... shape? I mean, this side seemed to have been more chewed. Hold on. Yeah. This side down here is more chewed. Or the other guy's steak. But no, that's impossible. I know I saw it. I'm sure of it. It was right there on the table behind the professor. There was blood on the side of the plate. What an unbecoming expression, little boy. You see, this is why I always say you can't trust what the Japanese tell you. I couldn't agree more. I was about to say, dude, may have reached a conclusion in this trial. Let's hope so. This let's pretend attempt at courtroom proceedings is painful to watch, but I do promise to do my best to forget about all this when it's over. The sorry-looking steak reveals the facts all too clearly. If the sorry-looking accused wishes to examine it again, be my guest. Does the plate I thought I saw, just a figment of my imagination? Ryunosuke, it's not over yet. Not until the final gavel. Never stop believing in yourself. Keep looking forward, no matter what. Believe in myself? Really? Maybe I should at least examine the evidence. Let's look at that steak. I knew it! What in the world is this? I think it's a Koban coin. And the hallmark from the Hoei era, I believe. No, I don't mean what is it? I mean, what's it doing there? Wait, did you say it was a Hoei Koban? Apart from the meat juices, it looks to be in good condition. I imagine it's very valuable. How'd it get under the sergeant's steak, though? I've heard before, pearls before swine, but I've never heard of bullion and bullion. And I don't think you ever will again. This is extraordinary, though. This means... that bloodstain was going to cinch the trial for me. Can this plate of steak reveal any other clue? Yes. Your Excellency, please wait. This plate of beef is hiding another clue. Another clue that will reveal the shocking truth. The only thing that's shocking here is your unhealthy fascination with beefsteak. Your Excellency, I think I've made myself clear, haven't I? I will not be able to turn a blind eye to any more unnecessary procrastination in this trial. I'm sorry, Miss Brett, but we must ensure a thorough examination of the evidence. I will not give a ruling until I'm completely satisfied that all reasonable doubt has been dispelled. I see. As a newly affirmed ally of my country, that's still your position, is it? Thank you, Your Excellency. Counsel for the defense will now clearly show the court what you are alluding. Where precisely on this plate of beefsteak is this new clue to be found? It's Oh. Okay, so I can examine it from this screen, too. So does that... Okay, now it's going... Now it stays lifted. Okay, good.
Got it!
Good. Good gracious. That's... A Koban? What on earth? A Hoera one at that. Miss Brett, this is in fact the beef steak that you ordered at the restaurant on day... Fuck me! This is the beef steak that you ordered at the restaurant on the day in question, is it? Tell me, why is there an old coin seemingly hidden underneath the meat? What a ridiculous question. How should I know? I've never seen that thing before in my life. I don't know what this is, but I want no part of it. I fail to see how this is relevant. A coin under the meat? That could simply have been a careless mistake by the chef in a moment of distraction. Don't be absurd. We're supposed to believe that this happened by accident in the kitchen? Just happens to be hidden underneath that piece of steak. It's the wrong plate. This turns out to be irrelevant to the case. I'll rip up my ticket to Great Britain right now. It can't be a coin incidence. Your Excellency? A rare Hoe Koban just happens to be underneath that piece of steak. If this turns out to be irrelevant to the case, I'll give up my lawyer job right now. By all means, don't let us stop you. No one invited you anyway. Perhaps, little boy, you should realize that it is you who is irrelevant. Even though I'm the one on trial here? The point is, it's essential that we ask the owner of this coin if he can explain what it's doing under that steak. The owner? Yes, it's obvious. There's only one person it can belong to. The owner of the Koban that was found underneath the beef steak is...
Take that!
Obviously, it can only be the antique stealer and owner of Rasute, Kiryo Korekuda-san. As in Mr. Cucumber something? Honestly, these ridiculous Japanese names are quite unfathomable. Ah, yes. The old man who testified earlier alongside the military sergeant, correct? Yes. I remember him saying that he was up to something with his Koban coin when it happened. Exact moment when the gun was fired. He's far too busy on the floor looking for his coin. Please, why would Korekuda's Koban be sandwiched between the victim's beef steak and its plate? It makes no sense. Which is why I'm asking to bring Korekuda-san back to the witness stand so we can ask him. Officer, bring both witnesses that testified earlier back in here. Without a moment's delay. Oh god, is this going to be a four-person? I can't believe we come back around to that pair again. I have a hunch, a strong hunch, that if we chase down the real significance of this Koban, we'll find that it's the key element in this case. What's this all about? Why have I been called up again? Don't you realize it's dinner time for little baby Aido? When my son's belly is empty, he's fiercer than a pack of wolves. Exploited by the police we were, like miserable dogs forced to bear false witness. When cast from this courtroom, myself, I became a ruined man in the trice, a worthless, withered antique. Nothing more have I to say. The sun has set on this Rasute shop owner's existence. Be that as it may, Korekuda-san, something has come to light that requires your clarification. That's it! That one! The very one! You stabbed the man! The resplendent, splendiferous Hoei treasure that my rusty bones managed to misplace that fateful day. It can't be. You just stabbed a man. As I thought. Young man, enlighten this decrepit old fool. Put me out of my misery. Phrasing. Where? Where was my treasure? Where was it dropped? Oh, I'm not sure if it was dropped anywhere. We found your coin sandwiched between a beef steak and its plate, soaking in the seasoned meat's juices. Clearly, it couldn't have been fallen there by accident, which means somebody must have hidden it there on purpose. Somebody concealed my Hoei treasure between a slab of meat and a metal plate? Who would do such a thing? Such an unconscionable thing? Excuse me. Could I say something? Yes, of course. Proceed, Inspector Hosonaga. I mentioned this earlier on the trial, but I was working undercover in the restaurant in order to investigate another case. Ah yes, that's right. A secret undercover operation. La Carnival is a high-class Western cuisine restaurant. It attracts wealthy diners, including many foreigners. Recently, there's been a run of similarly executed thefts targeting the restaurant's rich clientele. A number of such incidents have been reported to the police bureau. Wicked crimes indeed. We wanted to nip the case in the bud quickly, especially with so many foreigners being affected. So that's why you were sent in undercover, is it? Yes, I took on the job of waiter at the restaurant in order to flush out the criminal. It seems likely this Kobani incident is the work of the same thief. So unbeknownst to us, there is a master thief at work in the restaurant on a regular basis. The place was already... I mean, Hosonaga was calling himself a thief, but okay. The place was already the scene of several crimes, it seems. I don't know about the master thief part, but... the identity of the person who stole and hid Korakuda's Koban is all too clear. Okay. It has to be a yes and no, sir. Because it was his stake. That has to be his stake. But Hosonaga has said multiple times that he's a thief. Like he is a crime scene thief. But Hosonaga was only assigned to that restaurant after the crimes. So in that case, it has to be Ayesa, right?
Take that!
Obviously. It can only be you. Sergeant Ayesa Nosa. How dare you, you monster. Monster? I stole that Koban, did I? I'm the master thief of La Carnival, am I? You're seriously accusing me of these crimes, cadet? But it wasn't me. It was Aido. Aido is a mastermind. Live baby reaction. You would push the blame for your crimes onto your own son, an innocent little baby? It is you who's the monster, Sergeant Nosa. Idle moment. Clippity clap, clippity clap, clippity clap, clippity clap. Nippon Imperial Army. Sergeant Ayesa Nosa, preparing to stand down in Supreme Court, sir. Do any of you know of the extraordinary low wages the Nippon Imperial Army pays those it expects to keep our country safe? I understand that the temporary increase in taxation owing to the recently ended conflicts remains in place. I have heard it's hard for lower-ranking soldiers to make a living, yes. All I want is to put a hot meal on the table for my son. That's why you were stealing things at the restaurant? The place is heaving with money. Every 3 days I'd go there and do reconnaissance for a target. And I'd enjoy chopping my way through a good steak at the same time. It sounds like he doesn't bother with a knife and fork even, which is worryingly believable. And your target that day was the old man in his koban? Yes, sir. He was an easy mark. I slipped the coin into my pocket without any trouble at all. A veritable phantom thief you are. I never saw it coming. I was all set to leave the steak. I was halfway through devouring when it happened. Yes, when the professor was shot. I knew that if the police conducted a search and found the coin in my pocket, I'd be finished. I'd too. So I hid the incriminating evidence as fast as I could, on the double. I slipped it under the steak, hoping that I'd be able to rendezvous with it again at a later date. This is ridiculous. Perhaps you could carry on with this absurd prattling in your own time? Well, Miss Brett? Well, of course, dear lady, of course. How rude of us. I'm quite sure there's no need to detain you any longer at all. May the esteemed gentlewoman please be excused, Your Excellency. Indeed. The theft of the koban was clearly perpetrated by this baby-saddled sergeant. It would certainly appear to be unrelated to Dr. Wilson's murder. Of course it is. Hiding a coin under a lump of meat? The sheer nonsense of such an idea astounds me. Nonsense, is it? Well, and as for picking up your steak and biting into it without using a knife and fork, it's beyond nonsense. It's pure madness. Very well. Now that all questions concerning this witness's testimony have been answered, I see no further justification for detaining her. Miss Brett, you are free to leave. Thank you, Your Excellency. Good luck, everyone. And good day. Ryunosuke, what's the matter with you? This is no time for daydreaming. Oh, no, it's just... something about Miss Brett's parting words got me thinking. I can't quite work out what exactly, but she said something she said jarred with me. I feel like there was a contradiction in there somewhere. In that case, don't just stand there thinking, make your voice heard. Sorry? You can think later, but if you don't call out now, it'll be too late. The trial will be over.
Hold it!
Miss Brett, what is it now? I'm afraid, just one last time, there's something I'd like to ask you. I'd like you to explain the contradiction in your parting words from just a few moments ago. What are you talking about? What contradiction? What new student nonsense is this? Well, what parting words are you talking about? Steak and eating boy without using a knife and fork? Hold the fuck on. I mean, it looks like those have... Okay, hold on. It's beyond nonsense. It's pure madness. Yes, I'm right. What she said there exposed an undeniable contradiction. I'm going to need to see evidence, counsel. If Miss Barrett's words truly are contradictory, where is the evidence to prove it? Okay. Like... I'm wondering where it's going with this, though. Like... This one has clear bite marks in it. Like this... It does look similar. Dog.
Take that!
The photographic print of the scene taken immediately after the incident occurred. Yes, that one. What's interesting is the plate of steak that you can see on the victim's table. The steak that Miss Barrett had been eating before the professor was killed. Yes, go on. More accurately, Your Excellency, the steak that was on the victim's table just before the professor was killed. Now you're just splitting hairs. Not true. Doesn't something about this steak strike you as very unnatural? What on earth do you mean? It's extremely obvious. I'm talking about the shape of the edge where it's been eaten. I see you've noticed it too, Miss Brett. Just a few moments ago, Miss Brett claimed no Englishman could even contemplate picking up a steak and biting into it without using a knife and fork. Of course she did. She's a refined English gentlewoman herself. Then take a good look at this steak, in particular, the edge where it's been eaten. Those are teeth marks. There are clearly defined, barbaric teeth marks there. Ah! It looks like Miss Brett has realized something. So, if the witness, as she claims, wouldn't contemplate eating anything without using a knife and fork, then there shouldn't be teeth marks in the steak at all.
Attention!
But what is your actual point? Perhaps the delightful Miss Brett was ravenously hungry and couldn't help her. She's getting sick. As I said, I really must be leaving now. Afternoon tea with the Minister of Justice cannot possibly wait any longer. Of course, this will all be over in the blink of an eye. Rest assured, I'm about to put this rookie in his place. Just leave every... I've heard enough. You irritating little spectacled samurai relic. Of course, dear lady. What's the matter, Miss Brett? Have we ruffled your feathers? Clearly, the witness knows what this means. She realized the catastrophic implication that these teeth marks in the steak have for her. Do you know where you're going with this? Yes. Now at last, it all comes together. It all come together. The mysterious teeth marks in a steak that had allegedly been eaten with a cutlery. The reason why the bloodstain I know I saw somehow seems to have disappeared. And most importantly, the evidence that proves once and for all who shot Dr. Wilson that day. I accepted that these teeth marks in the steak are a little unnatural, as you put it. But what exactly are you suggesting that tells us? Everything, Your Excellency. Everything? Yes, I believe that these barbaric teeth marks in the steak here amount to conclusive evidence in this case. Evidence that will prove beyond any doubt who shot Dr. Wilson. Conclusive evidence? How many times have I heard that today? You wouldn't know the meaning of the phrase. Typical Japanese empty threats. How can you be so sure? Oh, it's quite simple. If you really had such conclusive evidence, you would have presented it to the court long ago. Actually, the evidence I'm talking about hasn't been brought before the court yet. Hasn't been... what? But just because it hasn't been shown yet, doesn't mean that the evidence does not exist.
Attention!
This is absurd. The trial's run several hours already, and you say there's evidence yet to be brought forward? This can't be. I don't believe you have it.
Objection!
I don't, but there is someone who does have it. Someone in this very courtroom. If that person is willing to submit the piece of evidence I'm referring to, it will solve every remaining mystery about this case. Who possesses the evidence? Hasanaga, don't fuck me on this one, mate. It's Inspector Hasanaga. What? I have it? Yes. You think I've been withholding conclusive evidence? That's ridiculous. No, I'm not saying that. Everyone's attention has been focused on the stake with the teeth marks. Yes. Now, earlier this afternoon, Sergeant Nosa told the court the following. I'd enjoy chomping my way through a good steak. And as well as admitting to stealing Korikuda's kobanso... Fuck. He told us he slipped it under the steak. Watch it, Cadet. I'm a superior officer. Sergeant Nosa, could you please confirm something for me? Was the stake that you put the coin under, in fact, your own stake? Tension. Affirmative, of course. I might be a soldier in the Imperial Nippon Army, but still. I'm not brave enough to ask a foreign gentle lady if she'd mind me manhandling her meal to hide something in it. In other words, the stake that the detective submitted as evidence earlier was in fact Sergeant Nosa's meal. But that makes no sense. That plate was taken from the victim's table. Yet the gentlewoman doesn't take bites out of her steak, nor did she have any opportunity to steal the coin. Of course I didn't steal it. To even suggest such a thing would be an affront to the entire British Empire. Well then, how do you explain this paradox? Exactly. Surely you're not going to suggest that the sergeant switched the two stakes over. Are you? You did switch the plates! Well, after it happened, when I saw the civilian had been murdered right in front of my eyes like that, I panicked. As I said, I immediately lifted my stake and hid the coin underneath it. But then when the waiter announced he was an undercover policeman, I thought I'd had it. I decided to investigate my slab. If he decided to investigate my slab of meat, that'd be it. I'd be getting my marching orders. So when the cadet was arrested and taken off to the kitchen, I seized my chance. With military precision and timing, I switched my stake with the one on the foreign language table. You can't have. I never saw you do such a thing. It was called Operation Lightning Bolt. There was no time for strategic planning. It was do or die, I tell you. So yes, I did what had to be done. Unbelievable. However, fear not, Prosecutor-san. What now? I swore on the brass buttons of my uniform. That is all I did, sir. All you did? That's plenty, Sergeant.
Yes!
So, if Sergeant Nosa switched the plates over, it means he took Miss Brett's steak and the plate it was on back to his own table. Inspector Hasanaga. Yes? Earlier in this trial, you told the court this. You said that you had not only taken Miss Brett's steak after the incident, but also the sergeant's. That to preserve evidence, you had taken both. That's correct. Then please present it to the court now. The plate that was actually on the victim's table at the precise moment he was shot. What can that possibly tell us now? I mean, by a cold slab of tough meat, I can't have the slightest bearing on the case. No, you're not wriggling your way out of it this time, lady. I beg your pardon? Surely you're not that forgetful. Surely you remember the reason why this steak pan promises to prove such a problem for you, no? You're the ones who decided it was a problem, not me. The reason the defense has to see that plate was to confirm something that the defendant remembers seeing. I'm quite sure of what I saw, Miss Brett. On the side of the plate that was on the table directly behind Dr. Wilson, There was a clear splattering of blood from the gunshot wound to the victim's chest. I believe the defendant's memory serves him well. And now we have the evidence to prove it. The plate you were eating from, Miss Brett. Let us not prolong this any further. Inspector, you will show the evidence to the court. Present the beefsteak and the plate that was originally used. Oh god. I don't think I'm going to be able to do much more after this. Sorry for keeping you. Here's the other steak and its plate. Please, feel free to examine it. LOL! She just chomps the plate. The blood stain. It's clearly visible. Look.
Yes!
Now this makes everything clear. The blood you can see on the side of the plate shows that at the moment the victim was shot, he was facing the table with his back to me. In other words, it's impossible for Naruhodo-san to have shot the victim. It can't be. In fact, there's only one person who could possibly have shot Dr. Wilson from the front. And I'm sure everyone knows by now who that person is. That's right. Miss Giselle Brett. It's you! Outdone by a Japanese? Me? By a Japanese schoolboy? No. Babies! Babies! Oh, fuck off. Aww, little baby swans. Please excuse my little outburst. I briefly lost my composure. Most unbecoming behavior for an English gentlewoman. Forgive me. Well, Miss Brett, I think it's time you told the court what actually happened that day. The truth, this time. Gladly, Your Excellency. It was I who took the professor's life, using cure air. As you surmised, I chose that particular day for one important reason. The professor had a dental appointment for the extraction of one of his teeth in the morning. So you planned to kill the professor, knowing that no trace of poison would be found in his water, because cure air is unheard of here in Japan. Yes. Of course, I never intended to remain at the restaurant for as long as I did. I only needed to see the professor take one tiny sip of his water, and it would all be over. I would place the steak I had ordered in front of him to make it appear as though he was dining alone, and leave immediately. However, before any of that happened, there was an unexpected visitor at the professor's table. That would be me, I suppose. Yes, you. Who else? Such a trifling matter, but the fact that you decided to come over to greet the professor meant that I had lost my chance to slip away unnoticed. In due course, the professor took a sip of his water and was paralyzed. I made sure he was sitting in his chair such that he wouldn't fall. There was no going back at that point, so I concocted a plan at the spur of the moment. A plan to pin Dr. Wilson's murder on this innocent man. I happened to know that the professor always carried a gun. I decided to use that fact to my advantage. I had the bottle of cure air in my handbag, and my own pistol concealed under my skirt. Under your skirt? So I was right. There were two guns. Yes. And then I finished my coffee and got up to leave. That's when I noticed the professor's gun, which you had presumably placed on the floor, placed where you were sure I would notice it. And everything went according to plan. You noticed the gun as I'd intended. And then, just as you bent down to pick it up, that's when you shot the professor with your own gun, even though at that point he was already dead. Naturally, the gunshot caused a commotion, at which point the waiter appeared. Obviously, I assumed Naruhodo-san was the culprit and apprehended him. I took him to the pantry that adjoins the kitchen and locked him inside. That's when I took the opportunity to turn the professor's chair around. Because, of course, you needed to make it look like the defendant had shot Dr. Wilson from where he'd picked up the gun. So there you have it. That is the entirety of my misdemeanor. Misdemeanor? Your Excellency. Yes. I wonder. Might I speak with you in private later? I shall call on you. Thank you. Good day then, everyone. I hope you can forgive me, Naruhodo-san. Are we not going to arrest her? It would seem this trial has finally run its course. I presume the prosecution is in agreement? This can't be. Takatsuchi Hauchi does not lose. Not to the likes of this rookie student. You'd better start getting used to tough opposition. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. What? Yes? This insult to the Aochi family name will never be forgotten. You've become conceited with age, Council. The old have to stand aside and make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that. I was wondering if he was ever going to take the sword out. 1,000 millennia may pass, and the Aochi clan will never measure up to the Naruhodo clan. This trial in the Supreme Court of Japan will, I believe, go down in history as the start of a new chapter in our country's judicial system. Despite being summoned as the accused, you, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, presented an excellent case. Thank you, Your Excellency. The use of evidence and deduction to unravel the truth is a modern methodology. After all, it's only been a few short decades since our country opened its doors to the wider world. But the Western ideals of science are rapidly gaining acceptance here. I feel sure that science will soon bring new methods of investigation and new procedures of justice. A new future of law awaits, but what it will look like, I cannot begin to imagine. That is for the young to pursue. Kazuma Asogi. Yes. After this trial, you are set to embark on a journey of discovery to the illustrious British Empire. Learn all you can. Absorb everything of the wider world that you are able to. And do not forget to fulfill the mission imposed upon you. I understand, Your Excellency. What was that about? What? Why do you look so grave all of a sudden? Ah, never mind. As for you, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Oh, yes. In you, I sense... how can I put it? Unusual potential. I very much look forward to seeing how you carry that onwards. Thank you, Your Excellency. It is time to deliver the final verdict. I hereby find the defendant, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, not guilty. Oh, they're Sakura petals. Who's throwing them here, though? The court is now adjourned. I can't believe it. I can't believe what's happened. I made it. I defended myself and made it through that horrendous trial. Ryunosuke, you finally pulled it off. Congratulations. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you, cousin. No, it was a pleasure to watch you at work. So, you owe me an extra large sukiyaki from the place on Yume University Street. Don't forget. Good afternoon. All your hard work has certainly paid off. Congratulations to both of you for proving Naruhodo-san's innocence. Ah, our trusty judicial assistant. You worked hard for that result too, you know. Oh no, I didn't do anything. Thank you so much! If we hadn't had that research report of Miss Brett's, I don't know how things would have turned out. Your kind words should really be for my father. I was simply doing as he asked. It was his idea for me to go to the university and investigate. Your father? Ah, yes, of course. Speaking of Mikotoba. Ah, there you are. My boy. Why does this guy reminds me of someone. Hold on. No, not her. Who's the commander? No, okay. No, I'm wrong. It's been a while since I am just, like, incorrect in general, but reminds me of, where's a good picture of him? Reminds me of the guy on the right from Pokemon Legends. It's just been a while since I've seen him. Thank you, Professor. Does that link work? Good. Oh, it is I should be thanking you, after all. Your efforts exposed the true criminal that took the life of my good friend. Good friend? Oh yes, you mentioned that before. It was you who actually invited Dr. Wilson to Yume University, wasn't it? That's right. Professor Mikotoba studied overseas himself, went to study forensic medicine in Great Britain. Presumably that's when you met Dr. Wilson? Exactly. In those days, you worked together in the same hospital. Oh, you worked together? I never heard you mention that before. Oh, it was a long time ago now. Besides, it's your turn, Sogi. Great Britain is a magnificent country. It leads the world in science, medicine, engineering, culture, and of course, in law. Watch and learn, my boy. See what's happening in the world's largest melting pot, America. I swear on this, the spirit of the Asogi clan. You're not taking that sword to Great Britain, are you? Of course I am. A Japanese man katana is his soul. This blade shows me where it... I know what's gonna happen. I know what's the next trial. Cosmo's gonna be fucking dead, and it's gonna be... Or we're gonna be defending him, and it's his katana that's killed someone. It cuts down anything that's in my way. I am reading the flags! That reminds me, what's happened to the woman? To Giselle Brett, I mean. After all, she's guilty of murder. Ah yes, her. It's not easy to tell you this, but... What do you mean? Surely she's gonna face trial herself now. She's the true culprit after all. She will be leaving Japan in the very near future. For Shanghai. What? Shanghai? Giselle Brett will not appear in court again in this country. I'm certain of that. What? But why not? It is a matter of consular jurisdiction. Inspector Hosonaga. Is he going to be our No. It's a hard-fought battle in the courtroom today. Very impressive to watch. But what's all this about consular jurisdiction? You cannot try this particular foreigner for her crimes here in Japan. What? You can't try her? But then who? Who's going to bring her to justice? A British consular court will hear her case, somewhere far away, where our voices can't be heard. But why a consular court? Professor, I simply don't understand. I thought consular courts were a thing of the past now that we've signed the Friendship Treaty. Yes, in normal circumstances, you're right. Then, so long as this is not a serious incident of a highly political nature to our respective governments, they can't invoke a consular court just like that. Oh, can't they? Yes, she's a student, but it doesn't justify our governments making secret agreements about her fate, does it? Something strange is going on. So Miss Brett can't be held accountable for her actions here in Japan. I'm afraid that for the young student, today's trial was nothing more than a game all along. There was never any danger of comeuppance for her. I don't believe it. The British government's Foreign Affairs Ministry has demanded that we hand over the custody of Miss Brett. They're obviously taking this case of a foreign student committing murder very seriously. But it's all going to change from now on. We can make it change. This is a time of great turmoil, this new era heralded by the start of the 20th century. One day, I have no doubt, that the woman will receive the judgment she deserves. Yes, change is coming. We're the ones driving it. Well, I think that's enough seriousness for now. This evening calls for a celebratory drink. But, Professor... You're right. This is no time for gloomy faces. We should be celebrating Ryunosuke's not guilty verdict. Let's start having some fun. In that case, might I suggest La Carnival? As its head waiter, I should be delighted to provide you with ample food and drink. You're a detective, aren't you? Let's not worry about details for now. To La Carnival. Will you accompany us, Professor? Of course. La Carnival's food is second to none. I shall go and attend to the paperwork for Naruhodo-san's release. Oh yes. Thank you. So Giselle Brett won't be tried here. I suppose that means I'll never know. I'll never find out why she killed Dr. Wilson. Yeah, what's her motive? Like, that is the one thing we didn't get out of her. Like, she must have had this plan for a while. Or at least wanted to kill him for a while. Kazuma? Yes? I just wanted to say thanks again. That's all. You really saved my skin today. I didn't do a thing. You were the lawyer in there, weren't you? That defense was all your own work. Your skills made the difference, though. One day, I bet you'll be the best lawyer in the world. I'm not so sure about that. To be honest, something kept occurring to me over and over during that trial. Couldn't help but thinking maybe you're the one destined to become a great lawyer, not me. But, come on, be serious. If I helped you today, it was only right at the very start of the trial. But you have a natural talent for it. For being a defense lawyer, I mean. Oh no, not me. All that tense verbal combat, I never want to go through that with that ever again. I just did what you told me to do, that's all. Because I knew I could trust you. That's the point. Sorry? What do you mean, that's the point? Listen, Ryunosuke. Do you know what the most crucial weapon is that any lawyer needs in order to win? Knowledge of the law? No. The ability to believe. To believe what? A defense lawyer has to fight for his clients. He has to believe in them at all times. Like when you believed in me when I said I didn't do it. I'm human, just like you. I do not have some superhuman ability to know the truth. That won't be developed for another like 200 years. But you have to make a choice about what to believe in and stick to it when you're defending someone. Sometimes in the courtroom, you can be really backed into a corner. But being able to remain faithful to what you choose to believe in, even then, well, that's not something anyone can do. It takes a special kind of person. Believing in your client, man. Just look at today's trial. I'm a student lawyer with precious little real experience, but you never stopped believing in me. Well, you faced seemingly hopeless situations, time and time again, but you never stopped looking for the truth. And in the end, you found it, through your own efforts, and because you never stopped believing in me. Thanks, Kazuma. There's something I want to ask you, actually. Well, it's a favor, really. Something very important to me. Sounds serious. What is... Ah, you're still here, are you? Oh, Inspector Osanaga. You've arranged some rickshaws for us. Let's go. Thank you. I'll be right there. Let's pick up this conversation again later. We should be celebrating right now. Your first court victory. And your study tour to Great Britain. Don't forget. Ah, yes. That too. I don't think you're gonna make it to Britain. So my very first trial came to an end. Kazuma. Professor Mikotoba. Susato-san, who acted as my assistant. Inspector Hosonaga, who didn't really play much of a part, but still. It was because of the help and support of all these people that I managed to get through that trial. Okay, give Hosonaga something! But more importantly, Kazuma hadn't yet managed to ask his favor of me. Little did I realize just how much it would change my life. I think that's going to be it for today. My throat is starting to hurt, it is very hot, and we've reached a good pausing point. Is it going to just start up on the next case? Okay. Oh, we're gonna have a ship mystery? Oh. Wait, hold on. Oh, okay. It isn't too long? I mean, I could chew up. It hasn't been a full 3 hours just yet. Let me turn off my medicine alarm. Let me take my medicine. Alright, let me get a sip. Let me take my medicine. I'm gonna run to the bathroom and then we'll do the skit. Big stretch. Alright. Be right back. Okay, I'm gonna apologize. But I do have to open my window a bit. Because I didn't realize just how hot it is in my room until I stepped out, and the sweat that had accumulated on my arms met with the cold air that I got goosebumps. So. Okay. Play some short extra episodes. This escapade includes spoilers about the first game's story. Just look at my priceless treasure now. Myself, I have scrubbed and scrubbed, but the repellent odor of meat will never be repelled from its resplendent surface again. But you have it back in your possession, at least. You should be grateful, old man. How dare you? Excuse me, Buzz. I'd just like to get at that Zabuton cushion there, if I could. Ah! Rest assured, you miserable military malefactor. This is not over. Incarceration waits those who would defraud a senior citizen from his priceless treasures. Watch your tongue, old man. Mark my words. I won't... sorry, Sergeant, but could I just get at that cushion there as well? Oh. I won't go to jail. Never. Imagine if I did. The very next day, my boy would starve without the chain of command in place to provide for him. Using the child to protect myself, I call that abstinent cowardice. Oh, really? And who just employed the poor old defenseless senior citizen tactic, The only way to fight an enemy who's using underhand tactics is with a tit-for-tat strategy. I'm sorry to interrupt again, but I just need to get at that Western-styled cushion there on the sofa. Enough of this insubordination. What do you want, man? Oh, please, don't mind me. Ah, do my eyes deceive me? Or is this the wide-eyed criminal from the trial before? Wide-eyed, perhaps, but criminal, no. What's this unhealthy fascination you exhibit with the seating arrangements of others, Why were you peering under the cushion of this upholstered seat? Well, the thing is... Any luck? Did you find it? No, sadly not. I don't think it's here, Kazuma. You really are a liability. Report. At once. Have you lost something? Is that it? Yes. We were just on our way to a party to celebrate my friend's victory here when... I realized my university pin badge was missing. A university pin badge, you say? Yes, for my collar here, you see. Affirmative. Uniforms must be kept in prime condition at all times. A missing badge is unacceptable. Thought if I looked around, it would probably turn up somewhere. Like the old tale of the Koban coin and the steak. A parable of which I am acutely aware. But I've exhausted my search now, really. The only logical conclusion is that someone must have stolen it. He just slowly turns. Don't look at me. I don't find just any old metal objects irresistible, you know. Imagine what would happen if little Trooper Ido here swallowed something like that. I'm afraid we'll have to give up, Ryunosuke. Still, tell the office your student number. I should be able to issue you with a new one. What's the matter? Don't tell me. Yeah, I don't remember my student number. I don't believe it! I mean, this is the second time you've lost your badge, isn't it? The third, actually. If you didn't think you could remember it, you should have made a note of it somewhere. I told you until I was blue in the face the last time this happened. Yes, I do remember someone telling me something along those lines. It was you, was it? You can't even remember who told you that you needed to remember it? Well, student numbers are 6 digits. Who could remember 6 whole digits? Yume isn't exactly a long-established university, you know. All of our numbers are still rather low. In fact, they only use the last 3 digits. Well, That might help, I suppose. That might help? Ryunosuke, it's only 3 digits you need to remember. Just 3. Sorry, my brain is such a disappointment. Yes, well, anyway, young man. Myself, I was greatly impressed with you in the courtroom today. Oh, you mean me? A lawyer already, before you've even graduated. And such a loyal friend to this one. This one? What's that supposed to mean? Oh no, I still have much to learn. In fact, that was brought home to me in no uncertain terms only last year. My Achilles heel was spectacularly exposed by my best friend here. Indeed? What? By me? This is the first I've heard about it. Yes, by Ryunosuke Naruhodo. You can't have forgotten, surely. It was last summer, at the speech contest. The speech contest? Oh... that. Contestants had to take the stage and deliver a public address on any subject they chose. We were competing to give the most compelling and powerful speech. And yours was great. It made a huge impression on the audience. Obviously, since I was a budding student of law, I was determined to win. Sure enough, one by one, my opposition fell, and I reached the final at last. I came up against you. Yes, so you did. Not being rude, but when I first laid eyes on you, I thought to myself, this cheeky, wide-eyed no-hoper is out of his depth. He's gonna be a pushover. That's your version of not being rude, is it? Well, I paid for my complacency, because it brought on that humiliating defeat. Defeat? How are your ranks compromised? My speech was going very well. I had the audience in the palm of my hand. They hung on my every word. And then, when I came to the very last line... Yes, what happened? It was supposed to be a climactic end. Unfortunately, I completely fouled it up. Never! You mean, you stumbled on your words? Spectacularly. Even now, I can't believe I ruined it. Well, what on earth did you say, man? Ryunosuke, you'd better say it. I still can't get my tongue around it. Sure, of course. I can recall it perfectly. What you said at the end of your speech, or rather, what you intended to say at the end of your speech was this. So arise, ladies and gentlemen, and applaud our forefathers' plight in the final... Oh. So arise, ladies and gentlemen, and applaud our forefathers' plight in the fight for filial piety. And what went wrong? Me? I see no problem with the pronunciation of these paltry words. In that case, old man, I invite you to say it yourself. Very well, then. So arise, ladies and gentlemen. It's a tongue twister. The arise, ladies and gentlemen part I delivered perfectly. But the next part had me floundering for a whole 5 minutes. By the end of it, I was on my knees in front of the podium, a blabbering mess. And that's when the audience started to heckle you. Arise, arise, they were shouting. Hell on earth. But then, of course, this man went and delivered his word-perfect speech with a perfect ending. How did it go again? Let me see. So, my dear fellows, the message is simple. Treat your father and mother with respect. Something like that. I mean, talk about stating the obvious. But the fact is, I lost to that speech. Tongue-tied is the only way to describe it. Well, it's quite tricky to say, I agree. That final fight for filial piety. And ever since that day, I've had this question whirling around in my head. Why did our forefathers choose such an awkward phrase? Was it to mock their children? Why are we here? Just to suffer? In the first pace. At least you're going to Great Britain soon. It might not come up much there. First pace. After having lost that accursed contest, I came after you to ask you a question. How is it that you never trip up on your words? I inquired. And you just gave me a broad smile and said, speaking fast is my hobby. I mean, really? What kind of hobby is that? Do you think you could take your hand off your sword? Besides, it's just a way to pass the time. After that, you started talking at me 10 to the dozen, like you're possessed almost. Honestly, can't imagine the shock I suffered that day. You really can't. You're right. I really can't. Speaking fast is just the sort of hobby I expect from a civilian like you to waste his time on. Well, you have to practice, of course, but there are some simple things to start with, like this famous one, for example. Swift samurai sword swipes silently sideways. Ah, yes. Even a decrepit tongue in a nailing frame such as mine can find a way around that one. I have no doubt. It's just a bit of fun, really. I can't imagine anyone would struggle to say it. Isn't that right, Kazuma? Swift samurai sword. A blabbering mess by word, too. It's not just the samurai. Every good soldier needs to be able to handle a sword. That's why I've been busy teaching Aido the finer points of swordplay. None of this wordplay nonsense, Private. Come to think of it, not long after that, we started to attend lectures together, didn't we? We got into that debate about family values at the Sukiyaki place on campus. Do you remember? Yes, the argument was full of jokes and puns and wordplay as usual. I remember it well. Oh, was it? In any case, I swore that I would never let myself forget the shock you gave me back then. And as a symbol of how seriously I took that oath, I decided to wear this. My red Hachimaki headband. What does that have to do with it? Sorry, Kazuma. Yes? You've lost me there, I'm afraid. I don't see the link. What does your red headband have to do with your oath? Because it will always remind me of that smug look on your face as you uttered those tantalizing words. What words? You mean another tongue twister? I practiced and practiced until my tongue bled, but in the end, I mastered it. Mastered what? Well, I think it's time you heard this, actually. Listen carefully now. Here goes. Red headband, lead headband, dead headband. I mean, he did it. I'd actually been meaning to ask you about that. About the story behind your headband, I mean. Well, now you know. So that I'll never forget the shock and humiliation of that day. That's why I wear this red headband every single day, without fail. Well, I don't know exactly how much of a shock you think you had back then, but it can't be more than the shock you've just given me now. What do you mean? Well, I'm sorry to have to tell you, but the tongue twister I said didn't go the way you seem to have remembered it. Huh? It's just as famous as Swift samurai swords, so I can't believe you don't know it, really. It goes, red head... Red bread pan, lead bread pan, dead bread man. Wait, what? Red bed... It seems I've knocked some wind out of that headband of yours. It's not too late, Private. You could always start wearing red bread pan on your head instead. Your young youthful vigor is manifest, young man. Your cheeks are growing redder than your hachimaki. Why do so many words have to be so similar? So, looking forward to Great Britain, then? Or you'll have to deliver speeches in court in English. I suppose I can always seashells on the seashore. That's a good one. That was cute. And then... second one takes place before case 2. I suppose we can... I can take a peek at it. Next time. thank you for joining me tonight. Since we don't got much of a crowd, I'm not going to send us off anywhere to raid. Plus, I don't have any friends that are streaming, so... that'll be it for tonight. Next stream will probably be Friday. We'll be starting the next case. Yeah. One of the things that I was mentioning to Erica was that I'm worried about these streams just because, like... I don't know, I feel like it's going to be bad for, like, maintaining an audience. Like, I know you're going to show up. But, like... Alright, no trial? Well, I mean, if it's on a ship, that makes sense. But I don't know. Like, visual novels are weird in that way. Like, if you don't catch it from the beginning, then it's hard to, like, pop in later. So I guess having it be so, like, I start a stream with a new sort of case is a good idea. I don't know. We'll keep up the momentum. I hope you have a nice night. I will see you next time. Remember to take your medicine, drink some water, get to bed on time, and, you know, be a good little moo. Be a moo. A moo. A moo.